Hello, good morning. Thank you for being here with us today during the O-CEI webinar. My name is Magdalena Brombosz, and I hope that this session will show you how to apply for the O-CEI project. Let me introduce our today's speakers. Let me welcome Ignacio Lacalle. Ignacio, he is from the O-CEI coordination team. He is also a researcher and teaching assistant from the University Politécnica de Valencia. And he will be today presenting the technical guidelines and applicants' reference documents. Welcome, Ignacio. And also Antonio Montalvo is today with us. Antonio Montalvo is a senior project manager at Funding Box. Antonio will guide us today through the open call overview. And after their presentations, we will have time for the Q&A session when we will be waiting for your questions. So thank you so much. Enjoy the session. And the speakers, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Magdalena, for the introduction. So I will go through the presentation, an overview of the first open call. So I will share my screen. First thing to do. I hope that you can see it in a proper way, the full screen mode.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, so this is, as you can see in this slide, the first open call of the O-CEI project and IoT platform, and it's in uptake in large-scale cross-domain pilots. We will go in detail on those concepts when my colleague Ignacio is going to do his presentation. So basically, what is the goal? This is just a very summarizing in a snapshot of the project. What is the goal of the O-CEI project? So O-CEI's overarching goal is to pilot the imperative of accelerating the upscaling and uptake of innovative Cloud-Edge-IoT solutions. So there is, on the one hand, the upscaling, and on the other hand, the uptake. There will be two open calls. This first one is for the upscaling, and the second one will be dealing with the uptake. So basically, the idea is to orchestrate cross-domain data sharing, minimize energy footprint, stimulate multi-sided marketplace, and promote open standards for visualization and interoperability. So in this first open call, we will, actually, during the two open calls, we will fund up to 32 projects. We will see that in this first open call, there will be 24. And the consortium O-CEI is composed of 58 partners from 19 countries. So it's quite a large consortium. And in the end, what is the aim of this open call? The open call was launched already on the 20th of September 2025. And we are looking for single entities, basically SMEs, although we can include their startups, which are located in any of the EU member states and its overseas countries and territories, or the Horizon Europe associated countries. We are receiving many questions about specific countries who can apply or not. And we will see in this short presentation that there is a very important document, which is the Guide for Applicants. And in the Guide for Applicants, you have the list of all the countries that can apply, whether they are EU member states, which is well known, And for the Horizon Europe associated countries, there is a link to the official document, updated document from the European Commission, where all these countries are listed. So in this first open call, any single entity that can be selected will be granted for 100,000 euros for the project, with a support program of 7 months. And as I said before, there will be 24 projects that are going to be selected. I would like you to take advantage of this presentation to check this QR code, where you can have access directly to the OpenCall microsite. And apart from being able to apply, you will be able to download all the documents that are related to the call. So basically, there are two main kind of activities that can be funded in this first open call, the upscaling projects. One is the testing components and developing edge solutions with the intention that they can extend the functionalities of the O-CEI large-scale pilots. My colleague Ignacio is going to detail about the pilots. There are 8 pilots in total, but he will go in more detail on this. And this is one of the possibilities. The other is to provide added value to any of these 8 O-CEI pilots, whether it is in the form of a new model, data sharing, efficiency, better performance, utility, increased coverage, etc. We have divided this the open call in 8 domains. So we will have 8 pilots. Each pilot will address one of the domains, or I would say the opposite. Each domain correspond or will develop by one of the pilots, and each domain will be associated to a certain number of challenges that you will get to know in a while with my colleague. But in total, you have 33 challenges, and you need to select one of them to address it, whether it is related to electricity and heat pumps, one of the 8 domains that are listed here in this slide. Now, what are the ground rules and formal requirements? Most important thing now is to know that there is a deadline for submissions on the 20th of November at 5 o'clock Central European time. The time is important, as you know, in this kind of projects. It means that if you submit your application at 5:01, we won't consider that application. You can make, you will see in the application form, as many submissions as you like, whether they come from the same application. So you can start an application and do a draft, and then you can continue working in draft, or you can make a first submission, and then you can do another submission of the same application until this deadline. Second thing regarding multiple submissions is that you are able to submit different applications to different challenges, but the only constraint is that only one would be eventually selected. So in the end, if you submit 3 different applications for three different challenges from the 3 different pilots, for example, it's totally possible, but only eventually the highest ranked one would be selected. You cannot be in short selected 2 times. Then the language requirement, which is English, which is natural. The data accuracy, please include data whether it is from your company or data that are more related to administrative things, or data related to your application regarding what you are going to propose, be as accurate as possible. We will take a look in detail on what you are proposing. Of course, you cannot submit an application without completing all the sections and all the mandatory questions. I will explain in a while what we understand by mandatory. It has to have an European dimension. So if the application is submitted by a country which is not in Europe, at least the people involved in the project need to be based in Europe, and then it has to have also a wider dimension or a wider scope, willing to scale your proposal to other countries, for example, or that has an impact on the European citizens, things like that. This is explained in the guide for applicants, for example. The conflicts of interest, this is clear. You cannot make an application if you have a relationship with one of the consortium partners, whether this relationship is commercial or your company is owned or has shares from one of the partners of the O-CEI consortium, things like that. The conflicts of interest is something that is also included in the guide for applicants, which ones are considered, or what is considered as a conflict of interest or not. The financial stability, if you are selected, you are going to pass or have to pass a formal check from our compliance and legal department to check, among other things, if your company is having any financial problems or not. By this, we mean if you have a problem with a debt with the Commission, or there is an issue of bankruptcy, things like that. So it's not that we are going to ask for a certain level of income or whatever. It's more related to the different issues you might have with the questions regarding the potential not stability of your entity. And then the original work, this is clear, we are looking for proposals that are original, that are not copied and pasted, that are not based on previous works that have already been funded. So the question of double funding is also very important. We pretend to get innovation in your proposals, so original work is important. Now, regarding the evaluation process, once the deadline has been reached and you have been, your submission has been successful, there will be an initial check that we'll do as a funding box. And this initial check is just to confirm if you are coming from any of the eligible countries, or if you are any of the eligible entities. For example, if you are a public institution, you are not eligible in this open call, because we are looking for SMEs, so for profit entities, things like that. It's a very simple initial check. Then we will do an in and out scope screening. Before the evaluation per se, we as internally in the consortium, the technical partners will do a very brief but a concise kind of screening, just to check if your proposal is in the scope or the project, or it is really something that is out of what we are pretending to get from the applicants. After that, there will be the proper external evaluation. As it is mentioned here, this evaluation is done by experts that don't belong, that have no relationship with the consortium partners. And there will be 2 evaluators per proposal, so that we can balance the different criteria, and we consider that with 2 evaluators we can make it happen. After that external evaluation, there will be a ranking that will be done, and we will present this ranking to what we call a consensus meeting, which is a meeting held by all the partners which are in the selection committee, and we will check this ranking and the proposals, and we will make a decision on who are the 24 best proposals, and we will make the pre-selection, I would say, because in the end, after this selection, we need to do the formal check, as I was mentioning. Imagine that after the consensus meeting, we agree that a given entity is selected, but then during the formal check, we realized that this entity said they were an SME, but we realized that they are not an SME, that they are a large company, or they are a non-profit entity. Then, of course, the selection would be cancelled, and we will invite another entity that would be in the consensus meeting in the reserve list. But if everything goes well, then after this formal check, you will be invited to sign what we call the collaboration agreement with us, and you will be able to start the support program. All this process will last until the 1st of February, which is the date we are considering as the starting date for the support program, and the support program will last 7 months, as I said. Now, once you have been selected and you have started the program, you need to know that you will be paid based on what we call a lump sum. So you are not going to be asked to provide us with the cost justification, etc. You are going to be paid based on the work you provide. The work is based on what we call deliverables. So there will be 3 deliverables corresponding to each of the stages. The first stage is individual mentoring plan and inception, and there will be a deliverable, which is the individual mentoring plan, the IMP, and project design report. This will be done in month 1, and you will receive 10,000 euros if everything goes well. And then in the stage 2, which is the development of the O-CEI, the CEI utilities, you will be asked as a deliverable to provide a prototype. This phase or this stage will last 3 months, and after that, you will receive 50,000 euros. And then the last stage, which is the release and testing, with an integration report as the deliverable, and it will last also 3 months, and you will receive 40,000 euros. So in total, 100,000 euros. Now, how to apply? We have, if you go to the QR code, you will be directed to this website, and you will see all this information. The most important thing is the open call documents, because this is the information you need to download. The first one is the guide for applicants. You need to read it very carefully. We are receiving a lot of questions that, to be honest, if you would have read in detail the guide for applicants, you would have the answers there. So please, I highly recommend all of you to read this guide for applicants. Everything is explained there. Now, there is another set of documents, which is the technical guidelines and the pilot descriptions. Aside from the fact that you are going to select or to choose one challenge to address for your application, this is very important information, and that's why my colleague Ignacio is going to go through it in detail, that you read the technical guidelines, and then when you decide, okay, my challenge goes or fits more with the pilot 1 or pilot 2 or pilot 3, then you go to the description of each of the pilots and get a lot of information of what this pilot is about. So the idea is that you can get as much information as possible to get ready to provide a good application. Then there are two other documents that you can also download. One is the template for the collaboration agreement. Of course, this, as I said, a collaboration agreement will happen only if you are selected. And if you pass the format check, then you will, but you can start taking a look if you would like to check that with your legal department, etc. You can download it. And then there is a privacy note for GDPR and data processing and things like that. So once you download everything, there's an apply now button or a first open goal. You click here, and then you will go directly to the application form. Of course, you will go directly if you have already signed in to the platform, our platform, which is called OnePass. If not, you will get this message, but you need to sign in. And you can sign in with Google or with LinkedIn or by introducing your email and password, or you create an account. The first, if you haven't anything, you should create an account, which is a very easy thing, and then you will go, or you will get to the application form. One important thing is that you can start an application form yourself, but you can invite other collaborators to this application. For example, if you are an expert in the excellent part, but one of your colleagues is more working on the impact section, then you can invite him as a collaborator to this application form, because in the end there will be just one person of contact person, but you can have as many collaborators as you like. And then there are different sections. The basic section, which is just some information. For example, here is where you will select the challenge. You will see in many of the questions an asterisk in red. This means that this is a mandatory question. If you don't reply, if you don't fulfill this box, you won't be able to save any draft or to submit anything. So this doesn't happen to all the questions, but to the ones that are mandatory are clearly shown in with this red asterisk. You need to fulfill all the questions. Of course, the most important ones in terms of the evaluation of your applications are this excellence, impact, and implementation part, together with the budget. The budget is going to be 100,000 euros, and you will be asked just to divide this 100,000 in different cost categories. But you need to know, since this is a lump sum, when you are selected, this budget will be only as a kind of it's not going to be mandatory. It's not going to be something that we will check. we will never ask you to provide us any document related to the budget if you bought the equipment you said you would buy, or if the cost of personals. No, this is up to you. What we are only going to request is that you do the work that you have committed to. This is reflected in the deliverables. And then, of course, reply to this section, statistical section, ethical issues. If you have any ethical issues, please let us know. In any case, one of the things we are going to do once you are selected and before you sign the subgrant agreement, there will be an ethical review and an ethical assessment done by us, by the consortium, and we will let you know if there is ethical issues that you need to address during the program, etc. And last thing is that you can save the drafts as long as you like and at any stage. And then you can submit your application with this button of submit application. You see that this is also mentioned in review. So you can submit an application to be sure, okay, this is a first version, but at least I know that I'm going to be on time. And then you can resubmit this application as many times as you like before the deadline. Then what kind of support we are providing? We have two ways to answer to your questions. One is the Discord help desk space. You can take a look at this QR code and it will go. This help desk is directed to us, to some of the partners who are like us, who are in charge of responding to any of the questions. And then you also have an email address, which is support@ocei.eu, where you can make your question. But as I said before, please, if you have any questions, be sure that you have read carefully the guide for applicants, because, as I said, many of the questions we are receiving are already answered there. That's all from my side. So if you have any questions regarding this, Magdalena, I don't know if we will have that Q&A session afterwards, or is this the time?
Yes, I think that Ignacio can go right now, and then we can do the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Magdalena. Thank you very much, Antonio, for your excellent detailed presentation about the procedure of application. And of course, good morning, everybody. And it's very nice to see you here connected, which means that you're interested in hearing out how you can contribute to our project, O-CEI, in this opportunity for financial support to third parties. As Antonio introduced, and also Magdalena before, I am going now to guide you through what our project is and what is the technical framework and the actual content of our 8 large-scale pilots that you should know and sketch through the documents to understand how you can actually contribute in the form of proposals for the open core opportunity. Therefore, if you let me, I will share my screen. Okay, please let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Okay, that's awesome. And I am assuming you can all hear me well, so I will proceed. Fantastic. So my name is, as my colleagues already introduced, is Ignacio Lacalle. I work in Universitat Politécnica de Valencia, which is the entity coordinating this innovation action it's O-CEI, Open Cloud-Edge-IoT platform. And we have responded, or we have been funded, commissioned by the European Commission to execute our project in a time span of 42 months. Right now, we are in the month number 10 of execution, which means we started in the 1st of January this year. So we have been executing the project since the beginning of the currently ongoing year. We are 58 partners including 2 third-linked parties coming from 19 countries. So our geographical coverage in the EU member states, it's quite big, quite large. And we have divided our work in several work packages, ranging from the formalization of our pilots, the creation of a platform, the development of models and utilities and software aspects that will be later deployed in these large-scale pilots that will be later be evaluated and spanned across certain impact outreach actions. Our project is, as I said, an innovation action, which means it expects to have a TRL a bit higher than usual research and innovation actions, which in practice translates to the fact that we want to permeate and to bring into close to productive environments, at least to operational environments of large scale, meaning moving beyond lab tests and demonstrators and going to scenarios where wide number of households, users, devices, models, data, processes, impact, and influence from really, not small communities is in place. This touches upon many technical and operational topics, and also vertical domains of application, as was introduced before. But I would like to highlight 3 crucial concepts that we do have in our project that are crucial also for you to understand when preparing your proposals. One of the goals we have is to focus on data. The fact of having large-scale pilots that want to test innovative cloud-edge and IoT tools necessarily entails the management of large amounts of data that are maybe checking the different V's of big data in volume, variety, diversity, and velocity. So for us, the fact of having very clear how we handle that data, how it is notated, how it is formalized, how it is included, how it is defined, how it is semantically annotated, how it is processed, how it is stored, it's very important. And we have specific partners and specific tasks that devote especially to this very fact. Therefore, if in your use cases you are planning to use certain data, you're planning to deliver certain data sets, it's very important that you take that part very seriously, also including how to protect, anonymize, synthesize this information. So pay attention on how you refer to the data handling in your proposals. Another crucial aspect is openness. The first O in O-CEI stands for open. So it is already giving hints of our commitment towards openness, meaning open source software solutions, open data exposure, open sharing of AI models, software utilities, even hardware, even computing capacities among different domains, among different partners, among different scenarios, and exposure of this data and of these capacities in what we call a marketplace that I will explain a bit later. And one of the moving motivations that underlies our project is the creation of success stories. Our project, O-CEI, touches upon different application domains, different verticals that I will relate later, but all of them have a point in common, which is the utilization, efficientization, optimization of energy usage in different areas of the society and of the technology, with the goal of achieving further flexibility from different energy sources, from different energy demand conditions, energy production scenarios. Therefore, we identify that in reality, there is a lack of success stories of integration of open technologies that provide and can improve this energy flexibility and management across different sectors. There are private solutions. It is a very vibrant and dynamic field, especially now that energy is a field of interest across all the continent, and I would say worldwide. But we identify that there is no easiness to find open solutions that could be adopted by somebody that would like to adopt this technology. And this is one of the motivations that we have behind the project. We have several key results that have been condensed in this 6, which is a data sharing platform, a platform that will execute software but will allow for data sharing. An ontology for defining what a Cloud-Edge-IoT computing continuum can be. One of the underlying engine forces that drove us to be successful in O-CEI Start was the inclusion of different partners and entities that have had experiences in the last few years with the so-called computing continuum innovations, which materialize on innovative technologies to achieve orchestration, unification, management, and dynamic utilization of heterogeneous computing resources that span across all the different ranges of type of devices that can execute and compute workloads that should be seen as observed as a single visible unified ecosystem to deploy apps on top. This is what we call the heterogeneous computing continuum, and this underlies to where different models, different applications, different utilities for energy improvement in sectors will run up on. So for us, the definition of these computing resources for abstracting their utilization is absolutely crucial. So this is a key result from us. I have talked about openness and data and software capacities that we will be providing. All of these will be published in what we call a federated marketplace, which is a sort of catalog of services, data, utilities that could be explorable and observable for selecting interesting technologies that you would like to adopt in the confection of what we call a blueprint, therefore based on a very specific metadata specification schema. So it's very important that you understand that there will be a point in which we will ask you, this is detailed in the technical guidelines for applicants, we will ask you to include in our marketplace your solution. If it's a software for data management, if this is a cybersecurity software, if this is a blockchain solution, you will need to be prepared to define it following the rules that we will transmit you so that it is published in our catalog, in our marketplace. We also do have a lot of commitment in terms of standardization. We have among the consortium some of the key players in different SDOs, standard definition organization in Europe, such as ETSI, ISO, IC, IETF, I2T, and others. We have partners such as Atos, Telefonica, Trialog, Schneider, EDF, well, among others that are very present in different ongoing standardization activities. So our idea is to bring our ideas to these discussion groups to potentially create a new standards in the future. All of this, in order to promote the success stories that I mentioned, will be endorsed and supported by adoption guidelines documents, trying to make as easy as possible. Most likely never a plug and play, because we are talking about complexities in large-scale pilots and complexities in large-scale scenarios, but as close as it can get to plug and play scenarios that could all of it open up new business models for our interested industrial stakeholders and also for other potential industrial partners in the future, including SMEs, but also other type of entities. I said that we have a very wide geographic coverage in the continent, and this map depicts how this is transferred and transformed in the terms of the larger scale pilots. As my colleague Antonio mentioned, we have 8 larger scale pilots that are there listed. Each one of them is focused on a specific sector, such as the electric grid, software-defined vehicle, or EV charging scenarios, or maritime port problems related to energy, agriculture or food production, then pure agriculture and field operations, 5G networkings with telco operators, and social engagement and urban mobility. But all of them are not isolated silos that cannot cooperate. And our idea, as you can see in these areas, is that they exchange information following our mindset of data sharing and marketplace for downloading, inspecting, and trying to replicate what others have been doing. Technically, our project orbits around three concepts, which are, the following of a reference architecture generated or that materializes in these 8 building blocks that was generated by the works of EU Cloud-Edge-IoT initiative, in particular in the Task Force 3, which is an architecture for depicting which are the minimum blocks that should be filled in every qualified Cloud-Edge-IoT deployment. This architecture was created 2.5 years ago, has been evolved, and is now under a preliminary working item in ISO IEC 41 JTC1. And in the future, our hope is it will become a standard. So we are already engaging with ongoing standards just by the fact of expressing how Cloud-Edge-IoT deployment should fill certain blocks, should fill certain requirements, and should have technologies covering each of these blocks. Another key concept for us are blueprints that are, in essence, a declaration of the solution of an energetically related problem based on certain standards, certain assumptions, certain technological decisions, and in general, instructions on how an interested industry partner company would like to solve an issue, such as consumer-side energy optimization based on smart metering data. So with these blueprints, we are expressing how we propose this should be solved in scenarios. And this would later be rolled out in a technological deployment that can fit from different technologies depending on the requirements, on the case, and the specific needs of a specific deployment, but all of them following this global instruction set. This is what we call a blueprint. And another key concept that I already mentioned is the federated marketplace, a sort of catalog. You can imagine like a place where you can buy some assets that would expose different digital elements that you could express your interest for, build your blueprints based on them, and at the end of the day, after a rollout process, have it deployed at your own premises or at your own infrastructure, Cloud-Edge-IoT infrastructure. Following what my colleague Antonio was saying before, in terms of how to formally go through the process of submitting proposals for the open call, these are three concepts that touch upon more the technical side of the requirements for eligibility and to be qualifiable for funding. That are these three. First, you need to test and develop components, for instance, executable apps and services that include an edge component. So they are distributed, they follow the Cloud-Edge-IoT mentality that could help us not to solve issues that we are already tackling in the project, but providing added value to one of our pilots. So since we understand that providing added value can be a very wide and very interpretable way of depicting a need, we have prepared a series of challenges that have already been defined by our stakeholders in the pilot that we invite you to go, read, check, and select for making your proposal. So your proposal should be targeting to solve one of these challenges exposed by our pilots. And I will go deeper later about this. All solutions delivered by you will need to be described and posted in terms of the descriptive metadata and associated instructions for adoption in our marketplace. This would be visible to all of our pilots, and we would be providing you the templates to fill so that it can be posted. This is very important because we strongly encourage you to already plan in your work plans, in your work programs, some time and some efforts planned to commit to this requirement. Okay, to reserve time to go there and upload metadata. And well, finally, you will need to develop a solution that reaches a TRL or 6.7 to be validated in an imperative environment. If it's even higher, it's not a problem, as long as you are able to explain it and justify it correctly. This is just the baseline we're assuming that we are expecting from the OpenCode project. So now, what can you develop? What is that you can offer? Here is a tentative list of what we are expecting or what we would be wishing that a project in an open call could have as an outcome, such as virtualized application of platforms, customization of your own tools that are then adapted to our pilots, our challenges, and our platform and our solution, smart objects, smart devices, decentralized identification tools, decentralized security solutions, AI or machine learning models or services or flows to solve one of our challenges, new smart networking components, also new smart devices in terms of hardware that you could test and be aligned with our challenges, synthetic data generators, synthetic data simulators, containerized functionalities such as services or web applications or distributed peer-to-peer applications. All of these would qualify to be assets that you have as an outcome of your project that could potentially fit these solutions or these challenges. Cybersecurity tools, human-machine interfaces, or apps. These are some ideas that we also have tried to convey to provide you, guidance on what type of these solutions we are expecting to have as a result of responding to the challenges of the pilots. And we have gone a step further in defining this aspect. Here in this slide, you have the URL on how to submit, the page that my colleague Antonio already shown. And if we visit it shortly, I don't know if you can see the browser, I guess yes. If we visit it, this is the page in which you can find the different documents. You can find the guide for applicants that basically says a step-by-step guide to apply what my colleague Antonio was explaining, and also includes all the formalities that were exposed before. Here you have the series of documents that you need to analyze and study for submitting. In the technical guidelines document, you can check here, which are the challenges that we have defined per each of our pilots. You can see that in pilot 1, we have 8 challenges. In pilot 2, we have 4 challenges. Well, 5 challenges. In pilot 3, 5 challenges. In pilot 4, 4 challenges. Pilot 5, 5 challenges as well. Pilot 6, 3 challenges. In pilot 7, 4 challenges. And in pilot 8, 4 challenges. Again, in all of them, the structure is the same. You have certain challenges that target very specific intents. For instance, use of interchangeable batteries for energy storage from photovoltaic panels, surplus energy production, or increasing battery life cycle, or gamification for individual and group engagement in social and engagement urban scenarios, or application of artificial intelligence technology in grid performance optimization, synthetic data generator tools for energy data engine. These are very specific aspects that are explained later, and I will go in detail. But also, there is one aspect that you must bear in mind, that is, for all pilots, we reserved one last challenge that is basically written in the same way for all the pilots, which is called global. What does this mean? It means you, as a proposer of an open call, you can either specifically address one of the very accurate and narrow challenges of the pilots because it fits your intentions or your business, Or if you don't find an exact match and fit for your potential contribution, you can express it targeting a global challenge per pilot. Meaning if you work or you want to work in the maritime port domain, you would go to this challenging maritime terminal landscape, you go to this global challenge and would apply here. You would express your intention, and as long as you are eligible, of course, and as long as it fits the three conditions that I explained, meaning providing added value, uploading it to the marketplace and reaching a reasonable TRL up to our standards, then you would enter in the evaluation possibilities. Great. Having said this, in this document, you have, for all the pilots, explained the challenges, and the challenges always have this structure. It is explained what we describe we would like it to be, and it is followed by a table in which we explain which main solution type we are seeking. This comes from the big list I explained before. In this challenge, for instance, we will be expecting AI or ML model services and flows. Which are the type of approach or technologies that we expect to be present because they fit the intentions of this challenge? How it can add value to the pilot so that you create a narrative based on these wishes from our stakeholders? How it touches upon energy distributed elements or energy assets? And then how strong is the edge orientation in this challenge? In some challenges, there is a more focus on certain things happening in the edge. In others, there are other types of needs. So this is basically the structure of it. And here I will share with you shortly. Excuse me 1 second. Here, you can visit, apart from this description of challenges, you can learn more about our pilots, go into the description of these pilots in the different documents. For instance, if we go to pilot 5 description, you will see that here you have an explanation of the pilot, where it is located, what it pretends to do, what are the remarkable aspects in terms of assets, infrastructure, energy, objectives, which is the primary focus, which are the important things, who are the entities behind the execution of this pilot, which is the current technical setup, which kind of information is exchanged, which are the nuances behind this execution, which is the infrastructure or the systems that are present, so that you are sure that whatever you will write will at the end work and provide an added value, which are the interfaces, standards, or architectures that are already in place or already defined here, including APIs, type of, for instance, SICAN exposure of open data, the edge in the software part, which are the formats used, some references to communities that take part of it, followed by a table with the standards used, so that you make sure what you are using fits and is already using these standards. And then a more thorough, a more compressed and narrative way to expressing the challenges. Therefore, with this document, you could have all you need to understand the pilot, understand which type of solution would be necessary, and which are the challenges. This is true and stands for all the pilots. As you can see here, it's for pilot 1 till pilot 8. So after this reading and this understanding, then you could go and navigate through what my colleague Antonio was saying. This set of slides, I believe we are, I am consuming quite a lot of time, and I think we prefer your direct feedback and questions and answers. So I prefer not to be stopped here. Oh, excuse me, I will change this. We prefer not to be stopped here. Okay. Second, let me share the other screen if it's okay. I will share the screen again. Sorry for the technical verification. Good. So instead of going through all the pilots here, I am just going to mention briefly what they are about in just 5 minutes, because we prefer that you go through them in detail through the documents available in the website, and directly pass the floor to you for any questions and answers you might have in this regard. Okay, so regarding this, okay, again, it happened. I am just going to briefly mention what our pilots are in terms of the domains they cover and the nature of their pilots, and then we will pass you the floor for questions. First pilot, which encompasses, okay, we'll go to the proper slide. Okay, sorry, I think it stopped sharing. Just 1 second. The first pilot in our project, it's takes place in 3 different locations in Limerick, Ireland, Paris, France, and the island of Krk in Croatia. It focuses on improving energy flexibility on the electric grid, increasing renewable energy integration, and reducing carbon emissions through innovative technologies and management. It focuses a lot on peer-to-peer exchange in energy communities, energy flexibility, and an energy mix of different renewable sources such as solar photovoltaic plants, local grid, wind farms, and heat pumps. Second one revolves around automation and automotive sector with the concept of vehicle as a software, with the final idea to create opportunities to monetize new digital services through the execution of different IoT and edge-based applications on cars, on electric cars, through the city of Timișoara in Romania. The energy mix is vehicle to grid integration and grid optimization. Third one happens in Austria with AVL, the Post Service of Austria, and Energy Steiermark, a DSO in the country, and revolves around charging scheduling in the routes of electric vans that make the delivery, the post delivery, and how across the country with different EV charging points, they can schedule and perform and optimize how they move and how switch services and how they share information to make the process more optimal. The energy mix is PV panels, local grid, EV chargers, and B2G. Pilot 4 happens in the port of Malta, which has very demanding needs whenever vessels must be operated, like loaded and unloaded and charged in the port. They require potential very relevant shifts of the energy production of the whole island needing to be diverted to these actions. So it introduces high degrees of uncertainties. And thanks to the digitalization and the transition from fuel-based to electric cranes and vehicles through all this environment of the port, there are complex energy flows that are dealt with in the edge that we will be developing and will be executing. 5.1, it's a food production use case that is happening in Cyprus regarding Χαράμπηδες Christie's factory of dairy production products such as halloumi cheese, in which it's needed to balance the different energy demands and potential production acquisition needs in the different phases of the production of this final food product. The energy mix is solar panels and batteries, local grid, and biodiesel. 6th one is an agriculture-based scenario happening close to in the Basque Country area in Spain, in which different electric tractors need to perform certain operations on kiwi fields that have strict requirements on timing, on battery necessities, coverage of the field, that requires also cooperation between these elements. And to make this process whole efficient, it's undoubtedly needed in a rural area to have good communication, Cloud-Edge-IoT technologies, and this is what we are solving in this project. In 7, that is happening in Italy, we have a electric vehicle hardware and service provider that wants to take advantage of advanced private 5G and 6G deployments to make more efficient how the information is communicated in order to provide service to the customers with fast movement for electric vehicle charging. It's a very challenging pilot that mixes photovoltaic feeding plus batteries plus the local grid in vehicle-to-grid and grid-to-vehicle energy exchange that requires this technology. Finally, last but not least, a final pilot takes place in Switzerland with the main focus in social engagement of prosumers in different urban areas, such as buildings, households, industrial areas, and also a ski station in Val d'Anivier. These different locations have different requirements and seasonalities. And with our technologies, we try to cover those elements to make it more efficient and at the same time engaging and involving social communities that would provide their feedback on how useful is this or not and how it affects their life. This is an overview of what the project is, what our pilots go, and how to provide the added value that we require in the open calls. And I will remain here at your disposal for questions and, of course, for support through the Discord and email channels that my colleague Antonio mentioned. Thank you for your attention and hope to see your proposals submitted.
Thank you, Ignacio. Thank you, Antonio, for your presentations. And as Ignacio said, we are now waiting for your questions. Okay, and right now I see the first question. Thank you for the presentation. I have 2 questions. The last time I checked the submission form, there was no character limit per answer. What are the recommended lengths for the answers? And the second one, if project output is smart service, in what form it is expected to be featured on the marketplace? In form of a documentation, PCB design, enclosure design, etc. Should it be available for purchase on something else?
Okay, I can answer the first one, which is a good question that I forgot to mention. That yes, in this new platform we are using, there is no character limit. So you can use as many characters as you like in your answer. There is no recommendation of any length. It's up to you. And also an important thing is that for any of the sections of excellence, impact, and implementation, there is a possibility to upload a PDF document as a complement of your answer. We understand that in some of the sections, like in impact or in the implementation, the fact that you need to use a text box is not maybe the best in terms of format and visualization, the best way. And that's why we are allowing to, for example, if you want to provide business projections in a form of a table or include some graphics or some elements, components of what you are planning to develop, etc., architecture diagrams, etc. You can do that in the form of a PDF. Of course, the PDF cannot be very long. We are talking about 10 pages maximum. But I think this is a very good point. And in the end, you are free to provide as much information as you need, either in the form of a text box, essentially. I would say that the PDF has to be a complement. You cannot, for example, include in one of the questions of the excellence, impact, or implementation sections, an answer like see the PDF in attachment. No, you need to develop your answer in that text box with as many characters as you like, and then maybe include, additional complementary information in the form of a PDF. Now I leave the floor to Ignacio to deal with the second question.
Okay, thank you, Antonio. And regarding answering the second question, if the project outputs a smart device, in what form it is expected to be featured in the marketplace, in form of documentation, PCB design, enclosure design, should it be available for purchase or something else? It must be in the marketplace as described, with following a metadata schema that we will share with you. I can relate is based on firmware, BEA marketplace, and TM forum specification in a form of a potential purchasable product, but in essence would be a description of your asset, including pictures and whatever additional material you want to include, such as installation guidelines, a specification of the product, which data it can generate, which input it can create, which standards it fits to, etc. So if you want to just take a look, this is a small reference of how it would be asked, but it will be done along the project. Thank you. And answering to Sami Sayadi, the applications are individual.
Please let us know if you have any more questions to our experts. We have another one. Thanks for the presentation about the funding. What is the funding rate?
This is another very good question. So when we are talking about 100,000 euros, the funding rate is 100%. So in any case, as I said before, in this case, the budget is just for information purposes. You are not going to be requested to provide any documentation to justify the costs that you are incurring during the implementation of your project. But yes, even if you are an SME, I know that in other projects you get only 70%, and then the rest has to be provided with your own funds. Here, there is no retention, the funding rate is the 100% of what.
Okay, and now I have another question. What does top priority pilots mean? Will it affect the selection of the proposal applications? If so, how?
Okay, that's a good question. No, it doesn't affect. We want to cover all the pilots, and our intention is that just to fund the best applications that will be better ranked by the evaluation. This is just a depiction of the strategy that we were recommended by the European Commission to follow in terms of having certain pilots as leading the way of adopting technologies and others to follow, in order to create a more optimal way of the evolution of the project. It does not have any implication in terms of the evaluation, so you don't need to be sticking to those prioritized ones. Regarding next question from Anastasia. Hey, hello, Nastia. Is there a requirement for a start TRL? No, there is not. It's a requirement for the NTRL, expected 6, 7, or even higher, but there is not a requirement for initiating TRL.
Okay, I think I can go for the question regarding the refinancing and things like that. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so there is a I will share my screen because there is a slide where I was including this information, but let me check where it is. But no, I cannot see my screen right now. But in any case, Can you see this slide with the payment arrangements?
No, we can see the webinar page.
The webinar page. Okay. Anyway, so there is a slide in my presentation about the payment arrangements. So there is a payment after each milestone, and the milestone, there are 3 milestones. Let me check if I can have well, anyway, let me see if now it can be seen. I think now you can see
Yes,
it.
yes, right now we see the presentation.
So there are 3 installments. It's not a pre-financing and then upon the completion. Of course, each installment requires the completion of each stage, and the delivery of these 3 deliverables. Okay, and of course, for example, after month 1, you submit this IMP and project design report, and there will be an evaluation of this deliverable. And if it is approved, then you get 10,000 euros, 10%, okay, etc. I think this was clear, but this is how it works.
Thank you so much, Antonio. I saw that Ignacio already needed to left the meeting, so I think that we can stop the recording right now. And if you will have other questions for our experts, please reach out to us via Discord. And please remember that the deadline for the application is 20th of November. So thank you so much for the participation, and good luck with your applications. Thank you so much.